Commander Vex-High sat at his monitoring station, watching the data streams from hundreds of star systems. His long fingers moved across the control panel as he checked the daily reports. The Zilithian had been doing this job for 12 years, and most days were exactly the same. The humans on Sol 3 were always making noise. Their radio signals filled space with music, news, and endless chatter. Their digital networks buzzed with information. Their primitive spacecraft sent out location beacons as they moved between their planet and moon. Commander Vex-High found their constant communication amusing. Most young species were quiet until they learned to travel between stars. Humans seemed to talk more than they thought. "Another busy day from the noisy neighbors," said his assistant, tech leader Mordine. The younger Zilithian was new to the monitoring station. He still found human behavior strange and interesting. Commander Vex-High nodded. "They never stop. Yesterday we picked up over 3 million separate transmissions from their world. Music, television shows, military communications, civilian chatter. They broadcast everything." The Galactic Concordat had been watching human development for 40 years. The humans showed promise, but they were still very primitive. They had only recently learned to split atoms. Their spacecraft could barely reach their own moon. Most importantly, they were always fighting each other. Wars, conflicts, and disagreements seemed to be their main activity. "Do you think they will ever be ready to join the Concordat?" asked Mordin. "Maybe in another 100 years, replied Commander Vex-High. "They need to stop fighting themselves first. And they need better technology. Their fastest ships would take thousands of years to reach the nearest star." The commander turned back to his screens. He was checking the communication levels from different human regions when something caught his attention. The signal strength from their largest continent was dropping. "That's odd," he muttered. "What is it?" asked Mordine. "The signal levels from human region Alpha just decreased by 30% in the last hour." Mordine checked his own screens. "Maybe they are having technical problems. Their technology breaks down often." Commander Vex-High frowned. Human technology was primitive, but it was also very reliable. They built things to last. Run a full spectrum analysis. Check all frequencies. The analysis took several minutes. When the results appeared, both Zilithians stared at the screen in confusion. Not only had the signals from Region Alpha decreased, but signals from all other human regions were dropping rapidly as well. "Is this some kind of system malfunction?" asked Mordin. Commander Vex-High ran the analysis again. The results were the same. Human communications were disappearing across their entire planet. Radio transmissions were going silent. Digital networks were shutting down. Even their military channels were going quiet. "Alert the duty officer," Commander Vex-High ordered. "We need to report this immediately." Within minutes, other monitoring stations throughout the galaxy were confirming the same thing. Human communications were vanishing everywhere. The species that never stopped talking was suddenly going silent. Duty Officer Kyle Ran arrived at the monitoring station within the hour. She was a senior Zilithian, with extensive experience in xenocultural studies. "Show me everything," she demanded. Commander Vex-High displayed the data on the main screen. It started 6 hours ago. Communication levels began dropping in all human regions simultaneously. Radio signals, digital transmissions, spacecraft beacons. Everything is disappearing. "What about their military communications?" asked Kyle Ran. "Gone silent 3 hours ago. Even their most secret frequencies have stopped transmitting." Kyle Ran studied the data carefully. In 40 years of monitoring, the humans had never gone completely silent. Even during their worst conflicts, communications continued somewhere on their planet. "Are we detecting any distress signals?" she asked. "None. No emergency broadcasts. No evacuation orders. No calls for help." "What about signs of natural disaster? Nuclear war? Asteroid impact?" Tech leader Mordine spoke up. "Our deep space sensors show no unusual radiation signatures from Sol 3. No signs of explosions or impacts. The planet's electromagnetic field is normal. Weather patterns are unchanged." Keel Ran was puzzled. "So their entire civilization just Stopped talking? It appears so, replied Commander Vex High. The last coherent transmission we received was a standard weather report from their North American region. Nothing unusual about it. Have we attempted to contact them? The Concordat rules forbid direct contact with developing species, Commander Vex High reminded her. Kilran knew the rules, but this situation was completely unexpected. In galactic history, no species had ever simply gone silent without explanation. When civilizations ended, there were always signs. Wars, disasters, disease, or invasion. The humans had shown no signs of any problems. I need to contact the Science Council immediately, Kilran decided. This requires a higher level of investigation. As she prepared her report, more data came in from other monitoring stations. The human silence was complete. Every human settlement, every spacecraft, every communication relay had gone quiet within the same 6-hour window. There is one more thing, said Tech Leader Morden quietly. What is it? Asked Kilran. The silence is too perfect. When civilizations collapse, some communications usually continue for days or weeks afterward. Automated systems, emergency broadcasts, someone somewhere trying to call for help, but the humans stopped everything at exactly the same time. Kilran considered this. Mordine was right. The simultaneous nature of the silence suggested coordination, not disaster. Are you suggesting this was planned? She asked. I'm suggesting it was not an accident, replied Mordine. Commander Vex High looked at his younger colleague with new respect. You think the humans deliberately stopped all communications? But why would they do that? Asked Kilran. And how could a primitive species coordinate such a complete shutdown across their entire civilization? The three Zilithians stared at the monitoring screens, which now showed almost nothing from the Sol system. The space around Earth, once filled with radio chatter and digital noise, was eerily quiet. I don't know, admitted Mordine. But I think we may have underestimated them. As Kilran sent her emergency report to the Science Council, none of them could imagine that they were witnessing the first phase of the largest and most sophisticated plan in galactic history. The humans had not vanished. They had simply stopped pretending to be what everyone expected them to be. In the growing silence from Sol 3, something much larger than anyone suspected was just beginning. Captain Sirena stood on the bridge of the science vessel Bright Explorer as it approached Earth's atmosphere. The Andalite captain had led dozens of first contact missions, but this was different. She was not visiting a living civilization, she was investigating a mystery. Atmospheric scans complete, reported her science officer. The planet's air is clean and breathable. No signs of radiation, toxins, or biological contamination. What about population centers? Asked Captain Sirena. We are detecting structures and cities exactly where human settlements should be. But we are not picking up any life signs from intelligent beings. The Galactic Concordat had never investigated an entire species' disappearance before. The Science Council had given Captain Sirena permission to break the Prime Development Directive for the first time in galactic history. Her mission was simple. Find out what happened to 8 billion humans. Take us down to their largest city, she ordered. The ship descended through Earth's atmosphere toward the place humans called New York City. Through the viewports, the city looked normal. Buildings stood intact. Vehicles sat in streets. Everything appeared to be in perfect condition. But no movement could be seen anywhere. Landing in the Central Park area, announced the pilot. No signs of human activity detected. Captain Sirena led a team of scientists and investigators onto the planet's surface. The air was fresh and clean. Birds flew overhead, and small animals moved through the grass. But the massive city around them was completely silent. Dr. Zenkar, the team's xenobiologist, ran his scanners across the area. Captain, this is very strange. I can detect traces of recent human presence everywhere. DNA samples, skin cells, hair follicles, but all of it is at least 3 months old. So they were here 3 months ago. But not since then? Exactly. And there are no signs of violence or struggle. No bodies. No damage to property. It appears they simply left. The team moved into the city center. The streets were filled with vehicles, but all were empty and neatly parked. Storefronts displayed goods behind clean windows. Traffic lights continued to work, changing colors for no one. Engineer Tokran examined the human technology systems. Their power grids are functioning perfectly. Water systems are running. Communication networks are physically intact but broadcasting nothing. Any signs of where they might have gone? Asked Captain Sirena. That's what makes this so puzzling. Their transportation systems show no signs of mass evacuation. Their spacecraft facilities are empty. But we can only account for a few hundred small vessels, nowhere near enough to move 8 billion people. Dr. Helnora, the team's archaeologist, was examining a human dwelling. Captain, you need to see this. Captain Sirena found Dr. Helnora in what appeared to be a human family home. Everything was clean and organized. Beds were made, dishes were washed. Personal belongings were neatly arranged. Look at this closely, said Dr. Helnora, pointing to a table. This home was not abandoned in panic. Someone took time to clean, organize, and prepare everything before leaving. Prepare for what? I don't know. But this level of organization suggests advanced planning. Whoever lived here knew they were leaving and had time to get ready. The investigation teams spent 3 days examining the empty city. Every building told the same story. Normal life had continued until exactly 3 months ago. Then everyone had simply vanished. But the disappearance showed signs of careful planning rather than emergency evacuation. Captain, called Engineer Tokran from his examination of a human technology center. I found something unusual. Captain Sirena found him in a large facility filled with human computers and communication equipment. Everything looked normal except for one detail. Several large pieces of equipment were missing. See these mounting points? Tokran pointed to empty spaces where heavy machinery had once been installed. Something was removed from here very recently. And it was removed carefully. Not torn away or destroyed. What kind of equipment would leave these mounting signatures? Based on the power connections and cooling systems, I would estimate advanced computer cores and long-range communication arrays, much more sophisticated than what we expected humans to possess. Dr. Zenkar's voice came over the communications system. Captain, we found something at their space center. You need to see this immediately. The team flew to the human space facility, where they found the most puzzling discovery yet. The space center was completely empty. No vehicles, no equipment, no supplies. But the landing areas showed signs of recent heavy activity. Look at these blast patterns, said Dr. Zenkar, pointing to the ground. These were made by spacecraft engines much more powerful than anything in our records of human technology. How much more powerful? Asked Captain Sirena. At least 10 times more powerful than their most advanced systems. Maybe more. Engineer Tokran was examining the facility buildings. Captain, someone removed enormous amounts of equipment from this facility. The missing mass would be measured in thousands of tons. But where did they take it? Our orbital sensors would have detected large spacecraft leaving this planet. Maybe they didn't leave the planet, suggested Dr. Helnora. Maybe they moved everything somewhere else on Earth. The teams expanded their search to other continents. Every human settlement they investigated showed the same pattern. Organized departure, missing advanced equipment, and no signs of where anyone had gone. After 2 weeks of investigation, they had found no humans anywhere on Earth. The planet that once held 8 billion people was completely empty of intelligent life. This doesn't make sense, Captain Sirena told her senior staff. You cannot hide 8 billion people. You cannot move them without massive transportation, and you certainly cannot do it without leaving any trace of where they went. Unless their transportation capabilities were much more advanced than we knew, suggested Engineer Tokran. Impossible. We monitored their technology development for 40 years. They barely achieved basic spaceflight. Dr. Zenkar looked thoughtful. Captain, what if we were only monitoring some of their technology? What if they had other capabilities they kept hidden? Why would they hide advanced technology? The same reason many species develop in secret, to avoid attention from more powerful neighbors. Captain Sirena was about to respond when their communications officer interrupted. Captain, we are receiving a transmission. From where? Unknown origin. The signal is very weak and appears to be broadcasting from somewhere on Earth. Put it through the main speakers. The transmission was simple and repeated in every human language. Phase 1, complete. Initiating Phase 2 protocols. Stand by. The bridge fell silent as everyone processed what they had heard. Phase 1 of what? Asked Dr. Helnora quietly. I don't know, replied Captain Sirena. But I suspect we're about to find out. As the mysterious message continued to repeat, the investigation teams began to realize they might not be searching for the remnants of a disappeared civilization. They might be watching the first stage of something much larger and more carefully planned than any of them had imagined. The humans had not vanished by accident. They had disappeared on purpose. And whatever they were planning, it was only just beginning. Navigation Officer Kethmol was having trouble sleeping. For the past month, his deep space sensors had been detecting strange readings from the outer edges of star systems. The readings appeared in different locations every night, but they always followed the same pattern. Massive energy signatures that lasted for a few hours, then vanished completely. His ship, the Thoraxian vessel Deep Current, was stationed at the edge of concordate space to monitor for unknown threats. But these energy readings were unlike anything in their databases. Officer Kethmol, please report to the bridge, came the announcement over the ship's communication system. He found Captain Rexandra studying the sensor displays with obvious concern. The Thoraxian captain was known for staying calm in difficult situations, but tonight she looked worried. Show me what you found, she said without greeting. Kethmol brought up the overnight sensor logs. The readings started appearing 3 months ago, just after the humans went silent. At first, we thought they were equipment malfunctions, but they're not. No, Captain. We've checked and rechecked our systems. The readings are real. And they're appearing in star systems across this entire region of space. Captain Rexandra studied the data. The energy signatures were enormous, large enough to power an entire planet. But they appeared and disappeared so quickly that pinpointing their exact location was impossible. What could generate this much energy? She asked. Unknown. The signatures don't match any known technology. They're too organized to be natural phenomena, but too powerful to be created by any species we know of. Even the Zilithians? Captain, these energy readings are 10 times larger than anything the Zilithians can produce. And they're appearing simultaneously across hundreds of light years. This was what worried Captain Rexandra the most. Coordinating activities across such vast distances required communication technology that no species possessed. Even the most advanced Concordate members needed weeks to send messages between star systems. Have any other ships detected these readings? Yes, Captain. I received reports from 16 different vessels this morning. The readings are appearing everywhere, but no one can determine their source. Navigation Officer Kethmol hesitated before continuing. There's something else, Captain. Yesterday we attempted to investigate one of the energy signatures directly. What happened? We approached the location where the readings originated. When we arrived, our sensors detected nothing unusual. But then we received a communication. Captain Rexandra raised her head. From whom? Unknown. The message came through our main communications array in perfect galactic standard. This area is temporarily restricted. Please maintain safe distance. No hostile intent detected. Thank you for your cooperation. Did you attempt to respond? Yes, Captain. We asked for identification and authorization. The response was polite but firm. Identification cannot be provided at this time. Please respect posted boundaries. Your safety is important to us. Captain Rexandra was silent for a long moment. In her 20 years of space service, she had never encountered anything like this. Unknown entities with advanced technology were operating throughout Concordate space, but they seemed more interested in avoiding contact than threatening anyone. Officer Kethmol, send a priority message to Concordat Command. Include all sensor data and communication logs. Already sent, Captain. We should receive a response within the next few days. But when the response arrived, it brought more questions than answers. Concordat Command reported that similar incidents were occurring throughout their territory. Unknown automated systems were politely but firmly preventing investigation of certain areas of space. Trade routes were being monitored by invisible observers. Military communications were being passively scanned by undetected equipment. Most disturbing were reports from Concordat member species about feeling watched. Ship crews reported the sensation of being observed during routine patrols. Planetary defense systems detected brief sensor sweeps from unknown sources. Communication networks experienced momentary delays that suggested external monitoring. Dr. Veltara, the Concordat's chief science advisor, sent a classified report to all senior officers. We appear to be under observation by an unknown intelligence possessing technology significantly more advanced than our own. However, this intelligence shows no signs of hostile intent and seems primarily interested in monitoring our activities rather than interfering with them. The report continued. Most concerning is the coordinated nature of these activities. The ability to monitor multiple star systems simultaneously suggests technological capabilities that should not exist according to our understanding of physics and communication theory. Captain Rexandra shared the report with her senior staff. Chief Engineer Morgoth, a practical thoraxian with little patience for mysteries, raised the obvious question. Who could have this kind of technology? The Zelithians are the most advanced species in the Concordat, and they can't do anything like this. Maybe it's not a Concordat species, suggested Communications Officer Tinhara. Maybe there's another galactic civilization we haven't encountered yet. Quote, possible, agreed Captain Rexandra. But why would they reveal themselves now? And why are they being so careful to avoid direct contact? Science Officer Helmara had been studying the timing of the mysterious activities. Captain, I noticed something interesting about when these incidents began. What did you find? The first energy readings appeared exactly 1 day after Earth went silent. The monitoring activities started 2 weeks later. The timeline suggests these events might be connected. Chief Engineer Morgoth laughed. You think the humans are responsible for this? They could barely reach their own moon. Maybe that's what they wanted us to think, replied Helmara quietly. The bridge fell silent as everyone considered this possibility. The humans had always seemed primitive and chaotic. Their technology was basic, their society was divided, and their space capabilities were extremely limited. But what if that had all been an act? Officer Keth Mole, said Captain Rexandra slowly. Review all our observations of human space activities over the past 5 years. Look for anything unusual. It took Keth Mole 3 days to complete the analysis. When he presented his findings to the captain, his normally steady voice was shaking. Captain, I found several anomalies in our long-term monitoring data. Small inconsistencies that we attributed to sensor errors or human incompetence. What kind of inconsistencies? Human spacecraft occasionally disappeared from our sensors for short periods. We assumed their primitive technology was malfunctioning, but the disappearances follow patterns that suggest advanced stealth capabilities. Anything else? Human mining operations in their asteroid belt extracted more materials than their reported technology should have allowed, and their energy consumption patterns suggest they possessed power generation capabilities significantly beyond what we observed. Navigation Officer Kethmole brought up a star chart showing human-explored space. Captain, if you plot the locations of our mysterious energy readings against known human exploration routes, there's a 73% correlation. Captain Rexandra stared at the display. The implications were staggering. If the humans were responsible for the advanced activities they had been detecting, then everything the Concordat knew about human capabilities was wrong. Contact Concordat Command immediately, she ordered. Priority Alpha classification. Tell them we may have significantly underestimated human technological development. As the message was sent, Captain Rexandra realized they might be dealing with something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that had successfully hidden their true capabilities while under constant observation by more advanced civilizations. The humans had not disappeared. They had stopped pretending to be primitive, And if they had been hiding their true abilities for decades, then no one in the Concordat had any idea what they were really capable of doing. Admiral Thexvara had commanded the Concordat defense fleet for 15 years, but she had never seen anything like what was happening in the Sol system. Her flagship, the massive battle cruiser Eternal Vigilance, was positioned at the edge of human space with 30 other vessels, all watching and waiting. 1 year had passed since Earth went silent. 1 year of investigations, strange energy readings, and growing mysteries. The Concordat's greatest minds still had no explanation for where 8 billion humans had vanished, or who was responsible for the advanced activities being detected throughout the galaxy. Admiral, called her sensor officer, we're detecting unusual readings from the Jupiter region. Admiral Thexvara moved to the main display. Jupiter was the largest planet in the human system, surrounded by dozens of moons. For the past year, their sensors had shown nothing unusual in that area. What kind of readings? She asked. Energy signatures, Admiral. Very large ones. They appeared suddenly about 10 minutes ago. Natural phenomena? No, Admiral. The patterns are too organized. Someone is powering up massive systems in Jupiter space. Admiral Thexvara frowned. The Concordat had thoroughly searched the Sol system multiple times. There were no hidden bases, no secret installations, no signs of where the humans might have gone. Jupiter space had been empty except for the planet's natural moons. Run a deep scan of the entire Jupiter region. Maximum sensor power. Yes, Admiral. The scan took several minutes to complete. When the results appeared on the main screen, every officer on the bridge stopped what they were doing and stared in stunned silence. That's impossible, whispered the navigation officer. Where their sensors had previously shown empty space around Jupiter, massive structures were now visible, hundreds of them, space stations, manufacturing facilities, and shipyards on a scale that dwarfed anything in Concordat space. How long have those been there? Demanded Admiral Thexvara. Unknown, Admiral. Our sensors show no signs of recent construction. The energy signatures suggest these installations have been operational for years, possibly decades, but we scanned this area multiple times. How could we have missed installations this large? Chief Science Officer Murdane was studying the sensor data carefully. Admiral, I believe these structures were hidden by advanced stealth technology. Something far beyond our ability to detect. You're saying the humans built this in secret? I'm saying someone built this in secret. Whether it was the humans or someone else, I cannot determine. Admiral Thexvara was about to respond when her communications officer interrupted urgently. Admiral, massive energy spike detected throughout the Jupiter region. Something big is happening. On the main display, the hidden installations around Jupiter began to pulse with enormous energy. Docking bays that had appeared empty suddenly showed movement. Construction facilities that seemed inactive started to hum with activity. Admiral, said the sensor officer in a voice barely above a whisper. Ships are emerging from those installations. What happened next would be remembered as the most shocking moment in galactic history. From hidden bays and concealed shipyards around Jupiter, spacecraft began to appear. Not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands upon thousands. The ships were clearly of human design, but their configuration was unlike anything in Concordat records. They were sleek, powerful, and enormous. Some larger than Concordat battle cruisers. They moved with precision that spoke of advanced technology and careful training. How many ships? Asked Admiral Thexvara. The sensor officer was frantically checking his instruments. 50,000. 100,000. Admiral, they're still coming. More ships continued to emerge from concealment. They organized themselves into formations that demonstrated tactical knowledge and coordination far beyond anything the primitive humans should have possessed. 200,000 ships now visible, Admiral. This cannot be happening, muttered Admiral Thexvara, but it was happening. For 45 minutes, human spacecraft continued to decloak and emerge from hidden positions throughout the Sol system. They appeared from behind moons, from within asteroid fields, and from areas that sensors had repeatedly confirmed were empty space. Final count, Admiral, reported the sensor officer in a shaking voice. 497,612 vessels, nearly 500,000 ships, The humans had somehow built and hidden a fleet larger than all Concordat military forces combined. Admiral Thexvara was still trying to process this revelation when her communications officer announced another development. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies simultaneously. Source? A vessel near Earth's moon. Admiral, the ship is enormous. Our sensors indicate it's approximately the size of a small asteroid. Put the transmission through main speakers." The voice that filled the bridge spoke perfect galactic standard with calm confidence. "Greetings, neighbors. This is Ambassador Dr. Sarah Chen, representing the Human Colonial Administration." Admiral Thexvara exchanged glances with her officers. Human Colonial Administration? The humans had always been limited to a single world. The transmission continued. "Humanity appreciates the Galactic Concordate's patience during our transition period. We are pleased to announce that Earth's industrial relocation and population integration projects have been completed successfully." "Industrial relocation?" whispered Chief Science Officer Merdane. "We formally request dialogue regarding humanity's application for full membership status in the Galactic Concordate. We believe our technological capabilities and territorial holdings now qualify us for immediate membership consideration." Admiral Thexvara found her voice. "Open a response channel." "Channel open, Admiral. This is Admiral Thexvara of the Concordate Defense Fleet. Dr. Chen, we request clarification of your statements. Our records indicate humanity possesses limited space capabilities and no colonial holdings beyond Earth." Dr. Chen's response came immediately, as if she had been expecting the question. "Admiral, with respect, your records are incomplete. Humanity has maintained colonial installations throughout this region of space for over 60 years. Our decision to limit communications from Earth was part of a planned transition to a distributed civilization model. You're saying your entire species has been living in secret colonies this entire time?" "Not the entire species, Admiral. Approximately 12% of our population remained on Earth to maintain the appearance of a single-world civilization, while the majority established settlements on over 3,000 worlds within a radius of 500 light-years from Sol." The bridge fell silent as everyone processed this information. 3,000 worlds. 12 billion humans living in hidden colonies, while 8 billion maintained a facade on Earth. "Dr. Chen," said Admiral Thexvara carefully, "why did you choose to reveal yourselves now?" "Because our development phase is complete, Admiral. We no longer need to appear primitive for our own protection. We are ready to participate as equals in galactic civilization." Chief Science Officer Merdane leaned toward Admiral Thexvara. "Admiral, if their claims are accurate, humanity may be the largest single civilization in known space." "Dr. Chen's voice came through the speakers again. "Admiral, we understand this revelation may be surprising. We invite Concordate representatives to tour several of our installations to verify our claims. We believe transparency is important for building trust between our civilizations." Admiral Thexvara looked at the display showing 500,000 human warships organized in perfect formations around her small fleet. The humans were not threatening anyone, but their message was clear. "We are not the primitive species you thought we were. Dr. Chen, the Concordat accepts your invitation to tour your installations. However, we must ask, how long have you possessed these capabilities?" "Our space-based civilization has been developing for over a century, Admiral. Our decision to appear primitive was based on historical analysis of how advanced species typically respond to rapidly developing neighbors. We chose caution over confrontation." As Admiral Thexvara prepared to respond, she realized that everything the Concordate thought they knew about the galaxy had just changed. The humans had not disappeared. They had revealed themselves, and in doing so, they had demonstrated that the most dangerous assumption in galactic politics was thinking you knew what your neighbors were truly capable of. The age of underestimating humanity was over. The Galactic Concordate Assembly Hall had never hosted a more important session. Representatives from 37 different species filled the massive chamber, all gathered to address what historians were already calling the human question. Council Speaker Velnara called the emergency session to order. The elderly Zalithian had led the Concordate for 12 years, but even her extensive experience had not prepared her for this moment. We gather today to address the formal application for membership submitted by the Human Colonial Administration, she announced. Dr. Sarah Chen, Ambassador for Humanity, will present their case. Ambassador Chen walked to the central speaking platform with calm confidence. She was a tall woman with gray hair and intelligent eyes. Her simple blue diplomatic uniform bore no decorations or symbols of rank, yet her presence commanded immediate attention from every representative in the chamber. Honored members of the Galactic Concordat, she began. I am Dr. Sarah Chen, speaking on behalf of approximately 20 billion human beings living throughout this region of space. A murmur rippled through the assembly. 20 billion. The number was staggering. I understand that humanity's revelation has been surprising to many of you. For the past century, we have maintained the appearance of a primitive, single-world civilization while secretly developing into something much larger. Today, I will explain why we made this choice and what it means for our future relationship with the Concordat. Representative Gex Hari of the Thoraxian Empire was the first to speak. Ambassador Chen, the Concordat monitored your species for over 40 years. How did you hide such massive development from our sensors? Representative Gex Hari, that is an excellent question. The answer lies in our species' natural tendency toward long-term planning and strategic thinking. Dr. Chen activated a holographic display showing a timeline of human space development. When we first detected Concordat monitoring stations observing Earth, our leadership faced a critical decision. We could develop openly and risk being conquered or controlled by more advanced species, or we could develop in secret while maintaining the appearance of a primitive civilization. She paused to let this sink in. We chose the path that offered the greatest chance of survival and independence. The display showed images of hidden human installations throughout space. Asteroid mining operations disguised as natural formations. Manufacturing facilities built inside hollow moons. Entire cities constructed in the empty space between star systems. We began by establishing small, hidden outposts in uninhabited systems. These outposts supported larger installations, which in turn supported full colonial settlements. Within 50 years, we had established a completely separate civilization that existed alongside our Earth-based society. Representative Morkala of the Andorian Federation asked, how did you coordinate such massive projects across interstellar distances? Even the most advanced Concordat members cannot maintain real-time communication across such vast areas. Dr. Chen smiled. Representative Morkala, that question touches on one of humanity's most significant achievements. We developed quantum entanglement communication networks that allow instantaneous contact across any distance. The assembly erupted in surprised conversation. Instantaneous interstellar communication was considered theoretically impossible. Furthermore, continued Dr. Chen, our manufacturing capabilities are based on self-replicating automated systems that can construct new installations from raw materials with minimal human supervision. This allowed us to expand much more rapidly than traditional development methods would permit. Council Speaker Velnara called for order. Ambassador Chen, you claim your civilization now spans thousands of worlds. What evidence can you provide of these claims? I invite any Concordat representatives to visit our installations and verify our statements personally. However, I can provide some immediate evidence. Dr. Chen activated another holographic display. This one showed real-time images from hundreds of different locations. Bustling cities on distant planets. Massive space stations. Orbiting unknown stars. And fleets of advanced spacecraft traveling between systems. These are live feeds from human settlements throughout a 500 light-year radius from Earth. As you can see, human civilization is both extensive and highly developed. Representative Helnath of the Crystalline Collective raised a concern that many were thinking, Ambassador Chen, why should the Concordat trust a species that has been deliberately deceiving us for decades? Representative Helnath, I understand your concern. But consider this. Humanity had the capability to reveal ourselves at any time during the past 50 years. We chose to remain hidden, not out of malice, but out of caution. We wanted to be strong enough to defend ourselves before announcing our presence. Dr. Chen's expression became more serious. History shows us what happens to weak species when they encounter stronger civilizations. We chose to become strong in secret, rather than remain weak in the open. But now you believe you are strong enough? Asked Representative Gexhari. Now we believe we are strong enough to be partners rather than subjects, replied Dr. Chen firmly. Chief Diplomatic Officer Tervana of the Concordat Council addressed the core question. Ambassador Chen, what does humanity want from Concordat membership? We want the same thing every species wants: security, trade opportunities, and peaceful coexistence with our neighbors. We have no interest in conquest or domination. We simply want to be recognized as equals. And what do you offer in return? Dr. Chen smiled again. We offer advanced technologies, extensive resources, and most importantly, a new perspective on galactic development. Humanity has proven that it is possible for a species to advance rapidly while avoiding the attention of potentially hostile neighbors. She paused for emphasis. In a galaxy full of unknown threats, this capability could be very valuable to the Concordat. Representative Quelthara of the Mystic Enclave asked, are there other species following humanity's example? Other civilizations developing in secret? Dr. Chen nodded. Representative Quelthara, that is perhaps the most important question you could ask. Yes, there are others. Humanity is not the only species that has chosen to appear weak while becoming strong. The assembly fell silent as the implications became clear. The galaxy contains many quiet watchers, patient builders, and careful planners, continued Dr. Chen. Humanity's emergence is not the end of surprises. It is the beginning of a new era, where the most dangerous assumption is that you know what your neighbors are truly capable of. Council Speaker Velnara spoke carefully. Ambassador Chen, are you suggesting that the Concordat has been monitoring primitive civilizations that are actually advanced species in disguise? I am suggesting that apparent weakness should not be mistaken for actual weakness. The galaxy is far more complex and populated than any of us realized. Dr. Chen activated one final holographic display. It showed a star map with hundreds of systems marked in different colors. These systems contain civilizations that appear primitive to outside observers but possess capabilities far beyond what they display publicly. Some are more advanced than humanity. Others are just beginning their hidden development phases. How do you know this? Demanded Representative Morkala. Because we have been in contact with them for years. There is an informal network of developing civilizations that share information and resources while maintaining the appearance of primitive societies. Humanity is simply the first to reveal ourselves openly. The implications were staggering. The Concordat had assumed they were monitoring and protecting primitive species, but many of those species were actually advanced civilizations choosing to remain hidden. Council Speaker Velnara called for a recess while the representatives discussed this revelation. When the session resumed, she announced the Concordat's decision. Ambassador Chen, the Galactic Concordat votes to grant humanity full membership status, with all rights and responsibilities thereof. We also formally request that humanity share information about other hidden civilizations to help us adjust our policies accordingly. Dr. Chen stood and bowed respectfully. The Human Colonial Administration accepts membership in the Galactic Concordat. We look forward to working together as partners and equals. As the session concluded, Council Speaker Velnara reflected on how completely their understanding of the galaxy had changed in a single day. The humans had not just revealed their own capabilities, they had revealed that the universe was full of civilizations far more clever and dangerous than anyone had suspected. 6 months later, as trade agreements were signed and diplomatic relations were established, the galaxy began to adjust to its new reality. Earth had returned to life as billions of humans came back from their hidden colonies to rebuild their home world. But now it served as the administrative center of a vast civilization that spanned thousands of worlds. The age of assuming primitive meant powerless was over. In its place came a new understanding. In a galaxy full of quiet watchers and patient builders, the greatest strength was not in appearing powerful, but in choosing when to reveal the power you had always possessed. Humanity had taught the galaxy a lesson that would not be forgotten. Never underestimate those who choose to remain silent until they are ready to speak.